This is what we're going to do tonight. I was looking at just doing like the wooden ones where they're straight across, but the more I was doing researching, they said a lot of people are saying that you don't use wooden hangers for keeping heirloom garments like wedding dresses or baptismal dresses or anything, because the wood off gases chemicals. So therefore they're saying to use plastic and pad them. Like, okay, well, if you have these plastic ones that we get lots of, they're just saying just to wrap them in cotton batting and leave it. Don't put anything on it, no chemicals, no dyes, no nothing. If you've got like a wedding dress or something that you want to keep for a long time. Everyday clothes are really no. But what I came up with this one is real subtle, but I've got some embroidery and we're going to talk about placing it. We're going to talk about how to come up with your own pattern, because I have discovered I don't think there's two hangers that measure exactly the same. I measured it for this one, and this one is smaller by 1/4 of an inch, but it's enough to, I've had to stretch it to get it on here. So I thought, you know what, I have a closet full of these in there. Yeah, they're pretty and they're nice, but when we were living in the hotel, I was always worried about leaving things for people getting into the room when I wasn't there, and we were not there for a lot of times. And it was mostly things like my jewelry, my good scissors, papers that I didn't want people to get into, although this wouldn't have been big enough for that project. But a lot of times when I travel, like especially if I'm going to a seminar or something, I don't want to be wearing my jewelry around all the time, but I'm always worried about leaving it, because I've heard of people, their suitcases get rummaged through, people take things out of drawers, you can hide them in the drawers. The hotel safes are a joke because everybody knows the codes to them. So at least that worked there. So what I came up with is, and this is a padded hanger, and it's lightly padded. You can make it bigger and pad it even more if you want to, but it has a hidden compartment. So it has a zipper in the bottom, and there is a pocket that you can put. Oh, here, let me take it out. So you can, we'll turn it inside out so you can see it better. And it just fits an ordinary hanger. Okay, and if you turn it inside out, I didn't clip all the threads yet. So it has a pocket. So you can put your jewelry or little things in here that you don't want people to get into, or car keys. Okay, it's lined on one side. So you really, and it's with the same stuff on the outside, so you can't really see it because the top of the pocket is higher up. But this way you can secure some of your valuables and not worry about people getting into them, because not too many burglars are going to go through your clothes. Not that I know of, although you never know. So, and this one I did really subtle because I didn't want it really loud. So I've got this embroidery that I did, and I'll send that to you guys. I'll probably send it out after club because it'll be, the club giveaway. And I have done an applique. Instead of using fabric or satin, I just used a piece of lace. This would make a pretty bride's gift or something like that. So, like I said, you can see better on this thing, the inside pocket, and you have to really look. So if they open it up, they won't see anything unless you really look, and there's the top of the pocket. You can make the pocket as big or as small as you like, put as many of them as you like in there. So what it took about maybe a ½ yard of fabric for this. There wasn't much to it. So you need about a ½ yard of fabric. You can use pre-quilted. I quilted this on the machine. If you have a luminaire or a Solaris, you can get this all in one hooping, but using pre-quilted fabric is even faster. So how to come up with your pattern. So let me get my freezer. You can use freezer paper or any old kind of paper. You need a piece of paper bigger than your hanger. I'm just going to take a piece of freezer paper. And you start out by just tracing around. Okay, there's our base pattern, but that's just the impression of our hanger. So you want to take a ruler of some sort. Okay, so I don't worry about down here. Okay. Then I'm going to start at the sides. I want it 1 inch away because I did a 1/2 inch and it's too tight because if you're doing your own quilting, or you're going to cut it out and then quilt it, you want it to be inch on the side. But if you have already pre-quilted fabric, you're just going to take about a 1/2 inch, actually probably a little safer, about 5/8 of an inch away from the sides, and start drawing up. And then at the top, you really only need about a 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to wing it because I've already drawn it out once. So I want it this way. Can't see. If I had a standard tape measure, which I don't, this one's not standard size. If you have, the cheap ones, they're usually 5/8 of an inch wide, which makes it easy when you're trying to trace out. You don't have to sit and measure it all the time. I made the other one a 1/2 inch, but because I quilted my own fabric, it drew in. Also, if you're going to embroider it, if you're going to embroider the front, it's best to make it a little wider because it's awfully tight fitting it in that hanger. And this is your cutting line, okay? And you determine how long you want it. Depends. I started out leaving it 6 inches long and it looked ridiculous. It was just too long. And I don't like them too short. You need enough room you need at least 3 or 4 inches to put in a pocket. Although that would fit in here. But here's the pattern that I used. Okay, here's my original pattern. And this is only at a 1/2 inch. But because I did my own quilting and the embroidery drew it in a little bit, it was a little bit. What I would do, if I were to do this again, what I would do is I would trace this onto my fabric to where my pattern pieces are. They would do my quilting and I would do my embroidery before I cut it. Then I would cut it out and it would fit fine. Okay. So I made this this is how long I made it on the body. You determine. Some you might want, you can also use this for other things. You don't have to have it just for security. What you can do is make it longer and leave a pocket on the inside for your shoes or your lingerie, or like if it's to a formal event, you can put in your slip. You're going to, let's say we have already quilted our fabric. So other things you're going to need is like here's my pre-quilted fabric already done. Okay, this is the back. So you don't have to quilt it if you don't want to. Nobody's, it's yours. You don't have to quilt it. But I just used some batting. If you want it thicker, go ahead. If you're making it thicker, make the pattern wider on the side too. But you can put several layers of this and have it really nice. Okay. You need a backing piece, which is the same pattern piece as the back. You're going to need however big a pocket you want. I cut mine 5 by 7, and then I put a 1 inch hem at the top and sewed it, and I just folded in the edges. Okay, and then you need at least a 14-inch zipper or whatever size you have. I wouldn't go much smaller than this because it gets hard when you don't have a big enough opening. It's hard to put the hanger inside the. Oh, I've already stitched it just because it takes so long to stitch. Okay, so I've already done all of the padding, and I want to put in this scroll work, and I did the scroll work using the Brilliance. So I would want to put this stuff in here, and I want to show you how I did that. So what I did. And I've already stitched it magically just to save time. Because we need now to put it together, not just how to embroider it. Okay, so I'm going to go to Cancel it out. Okay, so I'm going to go to embroidery. A jump drive. And here they are. Okay, and I only did one. So I'm going to set it. And it's in embroidery. So I'm going to scan what I have. I'm going to scan in the design on here. That's what's scanned in. So I want to do a couple of things here. I'm going to go to edit, want to rotate it 90, maybe a little more. Move it to where I want it. If I remember, I put it right about there. And I may not have hooped that correctly. Now, what I did here is I just used a my tearaway stabilizer, and I used my KK 2000 spray in order to adhere it down. I usually don't do that, but you know, it's okay. Okay, I want to duplicate this one, or if you don't have a machine that duplicates, you want to bring it in again and rotate it. So I'm going to duplicate it. I want to rotate it and flip it. I'm going to rotate it around. Yep, kind of looks like that. And sort of bring it opposite where I want it to go. Okay. Then what I did was I literally stitched that because I decided where I wanted it, because two things. If you use an IQ designer in order to make the applique in the middle, which is what I did, or if you didn't want to do that, you could add a frame. So you could use any of these. Say if you wanted to use that one, you've got different decorative stitches you can put with it. So here's one possibility. And hit set. And I would probably rotate it and then move it up, or maybe rotate it again. I like it better that way. Center it, because notice my center of my hoop is right here, but I didn't do it right. Here's the center of my piece. So it's got to be a little bit lower. And then you can go and you can adjust these other ones. As soon as you see a red box, you know that's the one that's active. So I could scoot that in a little more or further, probably out. Now, the only thing is this one is not the reason I didn't use the frames is because the frames are not really appropriate for an applique. That's why I didn't use that. But the frames are a good way to center your designs. So scoot that out a little bit. The wrong one. Move that one out a little bit. So, but yeah, see, that frame isn't going to work because that's not going to tack down the applique. I have to go to IQ Designer in order to do that. So, whoa, I don't want to. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and take that out. I don't want that piece in there. Okay, so now I needed to go into IQ. Usually, what I did last time is that if you go to IQ Designer, the problem is you have to scan it again, and you can't see it very well. You can't see this design when you're scanning in IQ Designer. So what I did instead is I went ahead and stitched that. And I know it's hard to see, you can't really see it either. But I would go to Add, IQ Designer, go to my Shapes tool. Was on the second menu, the number 4, but you could use any of the shapes. Okay. And then I want to rotate it 90 degrees, no, not 90 degrees, 45, and then okay. And then it's too big, so I'd make it smaller. I think I made it 4 inches wide, so it would come out to be 4 inches. So a little bit smaller. Close enough. Okay, and then I'm going to save this design. I want to change this to a running stitch, and then whatever color, apply the color. Okay, and then I save it into internal memory, and I've done it a couple times, as you'll see. Okay, then you're going to leave it, and then I'm going to leave it there and go next. I'm going to make the running stitch a little bit longer because I think that's too tight. Set. And then preview, and then send that to embroidery. It's ready to stitch out. Okay, I'm not going to move it yet, because see, here's my first 2 designs right here. Okay, I need to move it up, but I need to do other things first before I do that. So I am going to first duplicate this, which is here. I'm going to line it and hit the move, and I'm going to use the arrow keys to put one on top of the other. Okay, one's on top of the other. I'm not going to move it yet. I'm going to add IQ Designer again. Okay. And then I'm going to bring back the design as is. Here it is. So the size should be just about right, but I now need to change this to a satin stitch. So it's a satin stitch. I'll make it red so we can see it. No, it is red. I need to make it green. That'll work. Flood it so that it's green. So now it's a satin stitch. And now when I go towards, yeah, it's telling me here's my width and my density. So I need to change that width. Now, if you have the Luminaire or the Solaris, it's going to show as a satin stitch now, but I want it bigger. So 0.22 was good enough, and hit set. And we're good. Now it's going to embroidery. It should be on top of the other ones. And go to group. So select all. Everything is in red. I don't want that, and I don't want that. I want those to stay right where they are. Then I'm hitting OK. Now this middle part is grouped. So if I move it now, the whole thing will move as a batch, and it's too big. The whole thing is too big. But yeah, that's way too big. Do we go back or what? Well, we'll pretend it's good. Or let's just say, okay, we'll leave it that. Say we want to leave it that size, and we just need to move these out of the way. Move them down. And that'll be fine too. And move them out of the way. Either way works. Okay. If I wanted to add lettering to the middle, I would put add, and I'll put just ABC, set, and then edit, rotate, and move it. Okay, we'll just say that works. I'm not going to stitch again. Now it's ready to stitch out. And yeah, that's too big, but you get the idea. And so now I have already stitched it out. Ta-da, magic of television. Sorry, stitched out. Okay, and now we're going to take, now I can take it off. And since it's tearaway, that's easy. Okay, that's done. Now we come back over here. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is prepare the pocket. Okay, so the pocket, what I did here is I cut it out, and it's going to go on the back, on the front of one of the lining pieces. Okay, so what I did is I stitched the top hem, and I just folded over, and of course I just glue basted it where I just to fold it. So you would just place this where you want this to go, and I usually put it somewhere in the middle. I'm going to stitch the pocket, just edge stitch it. Up the side. Okay, coming over, and I'm going to double stitch the pocket. Come down about 1/8 of an inch in. Now, could you put a zipper in here? Sure. You could put in Velcro, magnetic snaps, whatever you would like. I just left it open. I'm just double stitching it. So you are going to take the back here, and you're going to just underline it here. Okay. Which means I'm just going to edge stitch all the way around so that this is now one piece. Okay, and it is easier, I found, if you take this side, and I'm going about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. You can use your walking foot for this if it's being snotty. Which today, everything I did was snotty. Is I need to mark the opening for the hook part. So I'm going to cut that 1/4 of an inch. Okay. And as I am edge stitching, I will just turn this, turn that, I'll show you in a second, turn that and then sew it down and then go back. Because then I can just treat this as one piece. And here's what I did. Here's the clip, and I clipped it in 1/4 of an inch. So I am on the front side. I'm just going to edge stitch this down, which I haven't done yet. I'll show you there. Okay, see here's the top where I did the edge stitching along the edge, and then I folded the top down and just edge stitched that there. All right, pockets on. So the next thing we do is the zipper. So I'm going to put the front and the back together, the quilted side out. And I am just going to start. I'm going to measure where this zipper goes. You want at least a 14-inch zipper. Bigger is better, but you use what you have. I'm just marking just off the edge of the metal bits here. I centered it in here, and that's all I did. And now I'm going to come over here. So I'm going to, now this I'm going to do 5/8 of an inch right here from the edge, and from the end of it, edge stitch to about there. I'm going to make my, at this point, I make my stitch length really long This one is 6 millimeters long, or however long yours will make. And then I'm going to sew across to the other side 5/8. And where's that other mark? Right here. Okay. Okay, and now I'm going back to 2 millimeter stitch length, back to tack it. Take some of this stuff out. This is stabilizer. You could line this if you wanted to. Okay, so we're going to open this up and press it. It should be hot, and it is. I'm just going to press it flat. All right. This is how I like to put my zippers on. On cotton. This will not work on polyester. So I take this glue here. Okay. I'm going to put the zipper. Let's see, I want it to come this way. Okay. I'm going to center this here, and I usually start at one end. And here's what, let's see if it'll show you what I'm looking at. We'll start from this end here. Right here. I'm matching the bottom of the coils. Okay, if you take the bottom of your coil, do this, and you match it right down the center. Let's see. And just lay it down here and just pull it down. Just put the center of that coil, because this is going to be a regular lap zipper. It's not going to be an offset. You could do it offset. Okay. And then we heat set down. You don't want it on too hot of a heat with the iron, because that's a nylon coil. Don't keep it there too long. And be real careful right here. Take the 1/4 inch off, put on the zipper foot. And this is my favorite zipper foot. This is that old-fashioned one where it slides on one side and then the other. It's a wonderful zipper foot. And I have it so that the needle's on the left side. And then there are lines in your zipper. I'm just gonna follow. That's why I wanted to do just a plain ordinary lap zipper. And now I'm just following the line, the same line on here. Okay, I'm going to clear the metal top of the coil. Turn around, go across. It has moved on me a little bit. Even it up. Come down to the same line on the other side. And then here's the bottom of the coil, the metal part of the coil. And just go across, tack, tack, and we're done. Okay. And see, now we have a nice, fairly even though I didn't spend a lot of time placing it. I'll probably take it apart again later, but okay. And what I want to do before I go any further is take a seam ripper and break through the basting. And Down here, if you take the ball end of your seam ripper, it won't tear your fabric. Well, it shouldn't, it didn't, but. I have also, you have to be careful, and I'm being reckless with this right now. Be very careful when you're using this like that, because I have sliced through my fabric before. It's usually real fine fabric or a fuzzy fabric, it'll catch on. Okay, and then you have to, the only thing about this is you got to come and pick out all those little basty bits. Okay, open it up. Okay, then you're going to put it together, right sides together, and there's my clips. And on this side, flip it. I'm going to sew 1/4 inch around. Okay. And now I'm just going to sew around 1/4 inch. Just to catch it now. I had planned originally to serge the edges so that the edges weren't raw, but I did find you can't go around these curves very easily with a serger. So I'll probably zigzag them shut. Okay, now when I come to this opening, I'm just going to, where I have it, where I have that little slot, I'm going to stop stitching right at the slot. And back tack. And then pick it up on this side. I'm clipping my curves as much as you need to. And then I'm still going to clip here on this curve. I'll come back and clip more carefully later, or just before I zigzag. I have discovered over the last, 2-3 years I've been doing this, that when you do clipping or anything else, do it very conservatively, because you usually end up cutting it in half. I feel like a complete idiot. Well, you guys know I'm not really that upset if I make an idiot out of myself. I've got so much practice. Okay, so now we're ready to turn it. And I'm going to just, like I said, I'm going to come back and zigzag these just so that the edges stay nice. And then same thing here. To get the edge turned, you just fold over, pinch it, turn it, and that gets you 90% there. At least this one's got a big enough opening that you can. Yeah, I have my turner now. I found my other one. There we go. And now we're ready to put the hanger inside. So open it up. And I found it's easy if you put this part in first. There. Then one side goes in and the other one you have to sort of flex it a little bit. And hope you don't break it. There we go. Got it. It didn't break. And see, this one fits better. They're the same pattern for both of them, but this white hanger was about 1/4 inch shorter. And see, it just looks so much nicer. A little bit tight in there. So now what you can't, another thing that I thought of too, that if you have a dress or something that has spaghetti straps or that you're worried about falling off, take a flat button, a little small button, and just sew it right here at the top. Same thing if you've got a dress that has got, what do you call those things that attach to the waist so that the shoulders don't stretch out, like for a knit dress. Then you can also put the button up there, and then those straps will fit up in here. So I think these turned out cute. I was going to write a pattern, but when I found out that most every hanger in my house was slightly different size, you really can't. And besides, the hanger gives you the pattern. Just make it 1/2 to 1 inch bigger around. If you wanted to really pad this, you could take cotton and wrap this hanger. But you know, I like it. Now you could also use, I thought, I don't have any, but an invisible zipper would be even better if you're using this to conceal things. Because then they wouldn't be able to they'd have to really look close to see if it's a zipper or not. So I guess that's all I've got. Okay, you guys have a good weekend.